Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming, where two guys who aren't qualified to talk about anything decide to talk about a game with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm John.
Oh, this is a special episode of the podcast, John.
Yes, it is.
They've done it, John. They gave me what I wanted. Well, technically. I don't think they've given it to me the way I wanted it, but they've given me what I wanted.
They remade the Eragon movie because the first one, like the first live-action movie, was terrible.
What live-action movie? It didn't exist.
Exactly.
They said they made the dragon armor overnight. What about the dwarves? What about the frickin' dwarf? I hate that movie. Don't get me started. They didn't even put Solemn Bomb in it. How dare you? But GW has come to rectify this grave, grave misgiving. John and I, on the last episode, had talked about how much we really, really liked the new dragons that were revealed. And I expressed how much I would love a way to have a full dragon army. And just this week, we've been given the news that it's happening. That there will be a way to play an army of all dragon riders. And
dragons.
And we are so excited that we thought we'd make a whole episode on it. Is it necessarily relevant to the hot button topics of the community? Nope. Is it talking about the toxic tournament scene? Nope. Is it probably relevant to anyone other than us and our buddy Tanner, who keeps making memes about me? Nope. But yet, here we are, because we're just too excited. I gotta talk about it. So, consider this a lighter episode, and we hope y'all like it. But first, hobby time and games played. Woo! Alright, John. Hobby time, games played. What you been up to?
So, exceptionally relevant with this episode as well, I've kept working on Stormcast.
Yet again. At least you're consistent.
Yeah, I'm really trying to hammer it down. I've also haven't had like a ton of time to do hobby, so it's like when I can, I do the like get some paint on the brush, even if it's for 20 minutes, like technique of trying to hammer through and get something done.
Little bits count, definitely.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I'm looking at getting an airbrush in the not too distant future, hopefully, and I think that will really speed up a lot of my painting, because as it is right now, I'm sure some of you can feel this pain, base coating without an airbrush takes a long time.
It does, and it's hard to get the layers the right consistency, while also getting them to go on in one coat. It's just hard.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping that speeds it up. Also wanting to see more of these battle tomes as they get released. I want to see like more codexes. Like I'm having a hard time. Like I'm in a weird spot waiting in AOS for both Stormcast and Cruel Boys potentially, and also waiting for Tau or waiting for Chaos to get a codex. And then other than that, I have Space Marines to work on, which again I think it'll just look better with an airbrush.
They do. Mine looked much better after airbrush.
And so it's work on Stormcast, because that's not terrible to do with a regular brush. Also, I don't know how much airbrushing metallics as a beginner airbrush painter will go. So,
It's not too bad. I'll give you the crash course I gave Corwin. I think you'll do fine.
Yeah, we'll have to have a whole time about it where we come hang out and eat pizza and airbrush stuff together.
Yeah, that's what I did with Corwin. He came down for a weekend because he lives in the hellscape that is Cleveland. He came down and he crashed at my place for an entire weekend, and we just airbrushed and watched movies. That was all we did. Turn on movies, run airbrush. And I kind of taught him everything he needs to know really, really quickly. And by the end, he left feeling comfortable. So I think we could do the same with you. Just sit you down in a room and knock it out.
Yeah. And then otherwise, like non-Warhammer related, I'm heavily looking at getting into Conquest and also BattleTech.
Same.
BattleTech looks like a very fun system, but also low cost to get into.
I mean, your Lance is 4 models. Like,
yeah, and
not bad.
We'll probably talk about it on the show whenever we actually try it. I've been playing MechWarrior Online a lot more lately. I like the setting, and so I want to play with big stompy robot plastic army men. So,
and you could 3D print pretty much every mech in the game, so we could have whatever we wanted.
Yeah, and the rules, from what I understand and have been explained to, really support playing any mech that's in the universe. You just have to find or make a model for it, and, well, 3D printer.
Yeah, 3D printer go BERT!
Well, Joe, what have you been doing?
Ooh, so, I've both done a lot and nothing. Allow me to explain. As I have been talking about for the past few weeks, my wife and I are getting ready to close on our first ever house, and with that has come just a bunch of stuff that has to get done, and including shopping for like a whole house of furniture, which we never did before. We're still rocking the college furniture that you get of hand-me-downs and dumpster dives that none of it matches and everything's broken, and we're trying to upgrade. So that has been a very, very time-consuming process to look for stuff online and to visit, I think we went to 5 different furniture stores, and also running down paperwork. It's just been busy. So I haven't done a whole lot of hobby. However, I did get to play a game. That was a thing that happened, and I have specifically not talked to John about it because I wanted to save it for this episode.
Well, tell me about this game, then.
Yeah, so we had some of the local folks get together, and my buddy Jake has recently painted up his Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Well, he painted most of them a while ago, but he recently painted up Catacross, and he wanted to throw them on a table. So we played a 1,000-point game of Age of Sigmar. And he played OBR with Catacross, and I played Sylvaneth. Because I really wanted to see where they were at in the new edition. And it became, for both of us, the most frustrating game of Age of Sigmar that we may have ever played.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, John, have you ever played a game of 40k or Age of Sigmar where you get to the, second turn and you go, holy crap, everything's dead. None of us have armies. We just smashed the shit out of each other. Well, guess that's game, but it was fun, huh? Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah.
Okay, this was the opposite of that experience.
So nothing died?
Nothing anywhere. Nothing on either side. Not a single unit died. Not one. The nature of the game, Ossiarch Bone Reapers are extremely hardy and can grind away, and I was playing Sylvaneth with, essentially I wanted to try to see how well that, board-wide +1 to save thing was going. Well, it's not technically board-wide, but for my army it was board-wide, because of Kurnoth Hunters. And I wanted to try out the new rules, so we did. And, we had a diagonal deployment with 3 objectives across the middle. And I knew that he was too slow to get to all 3. So I got 2 of the objectives, turn 1. And then I just started contesting the other 2. Because I knew he couldn't walk over to the third one and contest it at any point in the game. So the game became 2 objective points that we just noodle fought on, that we, angry chicks on Jerry Springer fought on, slapping each other, but really doing no damage. My Kurnoth Hunters would swing at his OBR, and they have, 3+ ignoring rend, rerollable saves, so, very little would die there. And then he would attack me, and my Kurnoths had a 3-up save, so very little would die there. The Tree Lord that I had in combat had a 2-up save. He took damage, but then I'd heal him back up, so he didn't die. Some Dryads died, but not even a full unit of Dryads died. 4 of them were left, so Nothing happened there. And when I did kill some of his stuff, of course they regenerate. So I'd be like, haha, I got, 7 of your foot troops. And then he'd bring back 6 of his foot troops. So nothing would happen. And at the end of the game, I won. And it was the least satisfying victory I've ever had.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a nightmare.
It was. He was frustrated. I was frustrated. It was rough. We were on the edge of our seats, but neither of us got to the end of that game and went, man, that was really fun.
Well, it's like a movie that's constantly building up like pressure and tension, but nothing ever breaks it.
Yeah.
Like nothing actually happens. It's just tension, 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 tension.
Yeah. At the end of the game, allow me to describe to you the entirety of the dead pile. Okay, this is game-wide across 5 turns of combat constantly. He had lost 2 stalkers, and I had lost 2 Kurnoth hunters and 6 dryads.
That's upsetting.
Yeah, both of my units of Kurnoths had lost 1 Kurnoth apiece, and my Dryad unit was knocked down by 6. That was it. It was absolutely pitiful. And I got the victory because Sylvaneth, just let me get on the objectives before he could, and he had no way to speed across the board and contest all of them. And I just kind of leaned into him. However, every time I had an objective to kill a unit, there was one time where I had to kill a battle line troop, and I got it down to 1 guy, and then he filled the unit back up. It's frustrating. So, I mean, on one hand, Sylvaneth way tankier. No longer made of paper, at least not in this build, which is cool.
Big tanky.
Much tanky. However, still hit with pool noodles. I have never ever thought that a unit of 3 Kurnoth hunters with scythes would bounce off of a min-sized unit of foot troops, but they do. They just do. And for Jake, it was really frustrating to have Ossiarch not be able to use all the new command abilities. That was rough.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
So we got done with the game. It was really late. We obviously ended up having to decide victory a little fast, but I mean, we got through all 5 turns. It was, something. And it has given me some motivation to paint my Beastclaw Raiders, because I want to lose or win in turn 2. None of this turn 5 grinding with no dead pile nonsense. No.
Well, you don't like playing Skaven?
No. I am here to kick on my monster truck and charge into the enemy line, and I will either shatter them under my hooves or I will lose greatly, and that's fine.
I picture your Beastclaw Raiders just blaring Kickstart My Heart from Motley Crue and charging into combat.
You have figured out the tactical nuance of that force. Yes. And that sounds so good. So good. So I'm inspired to do that. And also, in hobby, well, it's definitely hobby news. So we had those games. And, myself and my friend Jake have been into this for a long time. Our friend Mo got into it pre-COVID and, now was very happy to get back to playing. But our friend Bees has played for a while and then took a long break from the game, and he wasn't sure he was going to come back. But he played himself the new 3rd edition and had a shocking amount of fun and wants to try to, relight the fires. So, after some conversing, we are going to finally do a Crusade campaign where the 4 of us are going to get together, each of us slow grow a force. And that is so terribly exciting because as a more narrative leaned player, Crusade just sounds like it's the bee's knees, and I've never had a chance to give it a whirl, but now I can. Jake is going to build his Ultramarines, My friend Mo is going to build Sisters of Battle. Andrew, or Bees as we call him, is going to build Tyranids and grow up his own hive fleet. And I am going to build orcs until the cows come home.
I've been very confused because you said the 3rd edition and then started talking about 40k. I was just like, oh no, what?
He played a game of AOS 3rd edition and then got excited about the hobby in general and now is willing to come and try 40k. But 3rd edition's rules are what kind of got him to be like, all right, I'll try this again. So that will be on the horizon. But I got to get my hands on the new orcs. It's hard. And GW is unfortunately, I'm assuming, facing some problems with shipping again. Because the new orc stuff, we don't even have a release date yet. But hopefully we get that soon. And I can start posting some progress on Instagram of me building an orc WoW for the Crusade game.
It's still Hot Orc Summer, and it's also going to be Hot Orc Fall, and potentially even Hot Orc Winter.
It will be Hot Orc Eternity if I enjoy this codex as much as I think I will. And I probably will. So yeah, I'm really excited to kind of smash faces. And I think it also will give us an opportunity to actually make an episode on Crusade. The things we like, things don't like, and maybe how we modified it and would recommend you modify it. Because right off the bat, there's some things that I think we're going to end up changing. But all that stuff for a later time once I've got some experience with it.
Yep, I'm also wanting to start a local Crusade league soon once I've got some more area to play and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's really what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, you do need a little bit of room to consistently get together, especially because it's a system that requires you playing over weeks or months, depending on how long y'all want to play. And having a little bit of room is just a good idea. But if you have one and I have one, we can reconnoiter and help people out there have one. And I love it. And of course, I feel in my near future, there may also be some dragons sitting on my table.
Dragons, you say?
Dragons. So, I think we've kind of beat around the bush a little bit, but John, dragons are back. No longer.
Yes.
Are they extinct?
Yes. Technically, dragons never left, because dragon ogres exist, but we don't talk about them.
They're not dragons. They're Taric creatures.
I had like the smallest of an inclination that this was going to happen when they released Kragnos, because they really leaned heavily hard into Kragnos' backstory of he fought dragons, he destroyed dragon eggs, he was responsible for all this, talking about dragons. Like, there's a lot about Kragnos in which they're like, dragons, 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 dragons. And it just makes sense for them to have the big dragon models, and now they have Stormcast riding dragons, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I looked at him and I went, oh man, I'm gonna have to buy them. Like, I'm gonna have to play dragons with my Stormcast.
Yeah, I don't know, I've got some different feelings on the riders, but I guess we should start at the bottom. So, dragons. Why haven't there been, like, dragons in the faction, or Draconith, as they call true dragons? Because, like, we've seen dragons in other factions, like the old stuff from Warhammer Fantasy Battles, largely that is sitting in Cities of Sigmar, like Dark Elf on Black Dragon. Those things exist, but they aren't true dragons the way you and I know them. They aren't dragons like Smaug, for example, that are these...
They're not like D&D dragons.
Yeah, they're not ancient, unknowable, hyper-intelligent creatures who are masters of claw and magic. They're kind of like... They seem to be treated more like wyverns, kind of lower intelligence. And for a long time, the true dragons were called Draconith. And they've been gone from the setting. It was one of the tragedies that they were extinct. And of course, now we know why they went extinct with the release of Kragnos, who, of course, is the god of destruction, or essentially a living god of destruction. who in the ancient times went to war with the dragons and killed not only all of their adults, but crushed their eggs. And intentionally tried to wipe them out as a species. And at least so we thought, succeeded. However, recently there was a short story put out by GW. They put them out like once a week, where a skink inside of a sort of starship, because Seraphon have spaceships. It's a whole other episode topic. The ship sort of dropped him into a dark room, and he was grabbed by a superior who essentially went, "Great, I needed a new worker. The ship selected you, follow me." And after walking through all these arcane barriers and runes, he comes into a room with a amber sort of fossilized egg on a pedestal. And this sort of coalesced beam of energy hits it from a crystal gem. It glows, and then after a few moments, the egg cracks open, very Jurassic Park style, and out comes a small, almost helpless Draconith. Not like Drake, Draconith. Wings and all. And the skink essentially says, You brought one back? And the Star Priest smiles and motions his hand to the blank walls around him, and the walls melt away. And around them is a pocket dimension that is the size of Gur, that is essentially a detailed recreation of ancient Gur. And they are sort of hovering high in the sky above it, and soaring in the sky beneath them and above the plains are Draconith, and a lot of them. And it's revealed that this has been a long-term project by the Seraphon to bring the Draconith back into the mortal realms, to give them another chance at rebuilding their society, which was lost. And they obviously have been out of the game, so to speak, for so long. They don't understand the politics of the realms or what's going on. And the Seraphon feel that they need stewards to kind of teach them. They're incredibly intelligent and they use magic and stuff, but they need someone to teach them what the world is now. So they have, I don't know if I'd say gifted, but they have entrusted them to the Stormcast Eternals. And that short story was super cool. Love everything about it. Love the Jurassic Park vibes. I mean, who doesn't have the image of the Velociraptor poking out of the egg from when we were kids? Like, God, such a good scene. And
I'm also picturing like you looking like Dr. Grant, like Grant, getting out of the Jeep, taking off some sunglasses, and going, "They do Roman herds," and it's just dragons flying.
If you think that wasn't my exact reaction to the article, you're wrong, because you got me. Yeah, it's very exciting, and I know it is kind of a weird thing to make a whole episode about, but I just like dragons. They're so cool.
If you're not excited about dragons, I'm sorry. This episode's kind of for us. It's also for you if you're excited about dragons. If you want to be excited with us.
Yeah, I know somewhere out there, Tanner's having a great time and Shane's having a great time. So, good for y'all. But, like, as a child, I loved Lord of the Rings and I loved old school D&D. And the pure distilled wonder of the fantasy genre was distilled into dragons. They are fantasy personified. Every bit of wonder and mystery that you could sort of wring out of these worlds are probably exemplified in a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, and take it a step further, like, I'm sure, like, as a teenager, you got it in D&D like I did, and dragons are, like, intricately part of that.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's classic, like, fundamental thing with fantasy is dragons and Lord of the Rings. Like, it's those two things that everyone's just like, I know about Sauron and the One Ring and hobbitses and dwarves, and also dragons.
Yeah.
I mean...
And I mean, of course, there have been other mediums across time. For me, D&D probably set the hook at first, because I'm still looking at my 3rd edition Dragonomicon poster with the different dragon colors and species. But of course, since then, we've also had the entirety of the Eragon series, which we referenced at the beginning of the show. It's totally surrounding writers connecting with and becoming sort of soul bonded with dragons. Great series if you never read it. And even bigger since then, of course, Game of Thrones. Now, I know that one leaves a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth, so I get it, but the dragons there were very cool. None of us can deny it. That they weren't always used the coolest way, but they themselves were cool. And, I don't know, there is something that makes these creatures compelling for not just us, but also our ancestors. I mean, they're all over the earth in all sorts of different varieties. Folklore is just chock full of them and the idea of them. So I think it's not surprising that a lot of people are really excited to see them in their favorite game. And
oh yeah, I'm extremely excited. I have a couple of criticisms, but I'm still very excited.
Yeah. We'll get to those later. And then, they're back, but in what forms? That's the important thing. So, John, what kind of dragons are we getting? When we say dragons are back, what do we mean exactly?
So, we're definitely getting the 2 big dragons. The big red scar dragon, my boy, shout out.
Yep.
We're getting the smaller and more magic-focused blue dragon which is very, how do I put it? Noble, I guess is the best way to put it. It seems like it's like they're serving next to Sigmar on the council, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
The new dragons that we're talking about this week that allow you to take a full army of dragons are Stormcast riding dragon mounts, have partnered dragon mounts, which I love. Full disclosure, I think it's great. I read a lot of dragon rider style fantasy when I was younger, and had minor fantasies as a little boy going, I wish I had a pet dragon that I also bonded with a pack mate and also did magic with.
Same dude.
And cool stuff, and camped out under the stars with a dragon and was just yeah, we learned magic and I learned how to fight with a sword. And also, this is my really cool best friend dragon.
This is my bud. He eats people sometimes, and he's very cool.
It's very rad. So, what we're getting is we're getting an HQ piece that when you take it, it allows you to take the other riders as battle line.
Yep.
And it is called a Knight Draconis. Has a flaming sword, big round shield, super cool.
He's a hero on a dragon.
Yeah.
Big hero on big, slightly smaller than the huge dragons. I feel like I need to pull out the D&D size scale to have this discussion.
Probably about a medium-sized dragon.
Yeah. I'd call it adult. Karandus and the Scar Dragon seem like ancient dragons, so to speak. For those of you who are familiar with D&D, they are at the peak of their power. The ones that the Stormcaster riding seem like adults. So not peaked out, but certainly a incredible mount to have. And the fact that hero makes all of the other dragon riders battle lines means you can take a full dragon army, full stop.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see lore-wise, rules-wise, they could be bad, I'm still going to take them. If they're great, awesome. If they're bad, I'm still taking them. My Stormcast are supposed to be a fun, casual army. I'm just excited about them. But specifically, they call out in the article where they show them that they have a symbiotic relationship together. The rider and the dragon form a symbiotic relationship. And I want to see how far that goes and how good it is. I have a genuine concern that they're going to go the Grimdark route here, and I really hope they don't, because I want this... I know, Age of Sigmar is still supposed to be a little Grimdark, but I want this to be just noble bright. I want best friends. I want Stormcast Paladin, best friends with Dragon, and that's just how it is. And they ride to war together and die together.
That's what I want. I want the Eragon style connection, where they can like hear each other's voices in their head. They can share energy, the whole 9 yards. I think that would be so cool. And I very much so in my future see a bunch of dragons sitting on my table. But I'm going to customize mine because I want an all-dragon army. And if they're a Stormcast sitting on top of my dragons, then they ain't dragons, and it's not an all-dragon army. So I'm going to heavily start doing... I'd have to do some customizations to get them riders off of there. But I think I'll probably turn it into part of the story. You know, my force is... Maybe they'll call themselves like the Unbound. They are dragons who believe that they should rebuild their society themselves. Not with the hands of mortals or demigods, purely with their own hands. Because only through something that they make themselves can they call their own. And that'll be their lore. And that like there just aren't riders that they feel are worthy of riding them. And I'll convert all the saddles off and add the big dragons in and paint them up maybe like platinum dragons or silver dragons, because platinum's hard to paint, and send them free on the battlefields. They could be so cool.
That sounds great. I'm gonna keep the riders on them because I still have that like childhood attachment to like dragon riders as a concept. Mm-hmm. But I'm very, very excited for them. But Joe, I feel like there's also some criticism we do need to give and not just fanboy about these dragons that we love.
Yeah. As much as I'd love to shill for dragons. Oh, shill for dragons. That's a fun band name. I feel like this idea is a little half-baked. And when I say that, a lot of people are going to go, you think they're bad? No, not at all. I think the models are beautiful. They look great. I don't like the flying stands. But I think beside that, they look wonderful. The concept is beautifully executed. But they didn't go far enough. You know what I mean, John? Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of gas in this tank, and we haven't nearly run it down.
Yeah, I think that's my point I'm going to make, is that I see these coming out for Stormcast, and like it makes sense. The Stormcast book's coming. If they were ever going to show up in Stormcast, this is a great place to put them. But I don't think that they're going to do such a big thing as saying dragons are back in Age of Sigmar, and they're going to throw in just a unit of riders, a hero, and 2 big dragons. Mm-hmm. Cool. Like, that's neat. But also, they're all blue. And specifically, the blue dragons are the ones that are working with Sigmar. The red dragon, the Scarred Dragon, specifically says he does not like working with the Stormcast and is fighting out in Gur by himself. And I wonder if that is a slight hint and nod to an all-dragon army. So I think they do deserve their own force and own book. I wonder if that will be something down the road.
God, I hope so. Because I have thought out this entire army in my head, and y'all, there's actually gas in the tank to have an all-dragon army.
Oh yeah, and like it doesn't just have to be like giants level of big monster. You could have one big dragon and then lots of little dragons.
Oh, yeah.
And like medium dragons and like adult dragons. They scale up significantly.
Let me hit you with some concepts, John. Are you ready? All right.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
I don't know if you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right.
Give it to me.
All right. So they come out with a neutral kit that is the same size as the Scar Dragon and Krondys. Let's call them an Ancient Dragon. They're the non-named hero version. They're about as big as a Gargant. Maybe they come in around 500 points, similar power scale. And they are like your big granddaddy dragon. They're Peepaw Dragon. They're here to do the work. Then you go down to like we'll call them like large cavalry. Adult dragons, as you know, the Stormcast are already riding things that are similar. Just take the riders off, adult dragons. Great. Now you got some cool heavy-hitting cavalry. You definitely also got some room in there for like hero dragons of that level. Again, could be very sick. Now you need to move on down to like the foot troops, right, John? I mean, you got to have some foot troops.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wing troops.
Or I'm okay if they give us 2 options here. I'm okay if they give us a sort of developing dragon battle line where it's like younger dragons, or if they give us drakes, like young drakes that also act as battle line. Because we've seen what a Dracoth looks like, so we know that there are things out there of like that sort of size, and I'm okay if they give us some drakes. You know, they're tankier foot troops that are almost expendable, and they can hold the front line, make the charges, do all that stuff, sit on objectives. Very cool. Now, you also need some, I'd say, utility pieces. I think this is where you could get into stuff like Wormlings, where you could have smaller units that are faster, flyers, to kind of zip around the board, grab objectives, and contest. And, you know, they are younger dragons. They're Wormlings. Maybe they're more inclined to magic than Raw Claw because of what stage of development they're at. And I think that sort of running around the back line with a front line of drakes, and then some adults to hit on the flanks heavy, with a leader adult and an ancient dragon on a field, could look like a very diverse, fully made army. And it would just be great. And it wouldn't take very many extra kits. And that's the key. They could do it without having to pump out 18 kits in a box. I mean, you got an ancient, a hero adult, and then like regular adults, but that would be in one box. So that's 2 boxes. Drakes would be a 3rd box and probably make it a dual kit. Wormlings would be a 4th box. Yeah, 4 boxes. You could make a full army. It's like Flesh Eater Quartz level. And I think there's also more gas in that tank if you really wanted to get into different types of dragons or colors of dragons or origins for dragons of what realm they're from. There's some mechanical depth here that you can play around with to give you a whole lot of diversity for these kits in terms of how you play them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that is probably the route they'll go if they actually go a full dragon army. Like, I don't see any other route that they could do. So I think for me, it's rather are they going to dedicate to a full dragon army, or are they just going to lump them in Stormcast?
God, I hope they don't lump them in Stormcast alone. That would be such a crying shame. It would, I'm not saying that it would be like, you know, oh, I quit Age of Sigmar. But that would be a huge bummer. And I also think they'd just be kind of leaving money on the table.
Absolutely, they'd be leaving money on the table.
And I don't think as a company they really want to leave money on the table. I think it would behoove them to kind of scale these things up if they can. And especially with having a low kit amount, it could give them a heavy hitter kind of like Giants with roughly the same amount of effort. Throw them in their own book, give them their own lore of magic, a couple of hero types out of the dual kits, and I think you got an army on your hands, and a cool one at that.
And I also think it pulls in a whole lot of the D&D folks.
Yes. Yeah. I tell you, my D&D brain is already singing with the idea of it. And I've just built it in my head. You give me actual gorgeous models to look at? Oh my god. I could hook all my D&D buddies with that. I think it would be incredible. And also, it would be a great lore event to discover the new dragons. Or maybe, like, it would be the Reign of Dragons. We could have Reign of Fire in the Mortal Realms. And Matthew McConaughey can, like, be a Stormcast and jump off the tip of Excelsius into the dragon's mouth with an axe. So good.
Well, like, I think it's the pinnacle of the story anchor of, like, destruction is resurgent and the dragons come back to fight the big monster. Like, that'd be very good.
Well, it's not that destruction is necessarily resurgent. Life is resurgent. And,
Yeah.
with life comes a race that you thought was dead.
Life, finds a way, Joe.
Yes, it does. And, like, not only does life bring them back, but it's more than that. It's deeper. It's a chance to revive a society, to revive a culture, to revive lost knowledge. It's a chance to get a piece back of what the realm was like before chaos. And I think that's a resurrection I would love to see on the tabletop and in the books. I mean, if they came out with a novel about it, oh, good God, I'd never hit buy so fast in my life. No, just have it.
I would be surprised if there's no novel about the new dragons for Age of Sigmar. Just gonna be super honest.
I will read that also, but if they had a full novel about dragons coming back to, like, Gur to reclaim it, especially on the back of a whole dragon army, it would be good. It'd be so good. And I don't know. I hope GW capitalizes on it, and I hope they see what potential they have in front of them. I know they got a lot of issues right now delivering stuff. And they work in, like, roughly 3-year periods from, like, concept to creation, sometimes like 4 years. And I really hope that somewhere, someplace, there is a modeler or rules writer or concept artist who is sketching up all the stuff that we're talking about. And they're already in process, because I will eat it up. And then I'll reread the entire Eragon series again.
Yes. As is tradition.
As is tradition. Y'all, now I want to ask what you guys are thinking. Are we exceptionally dorky in a sea of dorks? Or are you also excited about dragons, making us all equally dorky?
Or are both of those things true?
Yeah. These things can exist next to each other. They are not mutually exclusive. We'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I know some of the dragon reactions have been a little dichotomous, so I would love to hear your feedback down below if you're watching on YouTube. Or if you're listening on the various podcast sites, reach out to us on social media. We love to talk to people on there. And we'd be more than happy to jaw about dragons till the cows come home. Or until the dragons come out. Ayo! And for people who really want to go the extra mile, take the show, share it to some friends. Maybe you could try to build a little bit of hype yourself. I don't know. Anytime you could get people to talk about dragons, I think it's a good day. So feel free to share it around.
Yeah. Great day.
Absolutely.
Love dragons.
That's why we wanted to record this today. But for now, that's been all of our opinions. Bonafide. Kentucky Fried. We'll see y'all next time.